What is going down, Sourdough Squad? It's Friday. It is the day before Christmas Eve. Ho, ho, ho. We got some predictions to take care of. You already know the vibes. Prediction Friday coming in hot. Got some news, roster moves from the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to talk about that all right after this fire intro. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. How is everybody doing today? Like I don't live a normal, 9 to 5 work schedule anymore. Do you guys work today? Do you guys have work? Or you get today off? Friday before Christmas Eve? I don't know. A lot of people are working today. A lot of people might have gotten it off, all that good stuff. We got a Raiders fan in here. That's interesting. No work. Let's go. You love to see it. So we're vibing on this Friday as we're getting ready. Shout out Jackie. She's working. She's putting in the hours. You love to see it. Shout out to all you guys if you are working, if you're not working, and if we're helping you get through your workday, that's phenomenal. Honestly, I love that part of this because not too long ago, it was me on the other side of the screen trying to how do I get through this workday? Who am I going to listen to? What podcasts am I going to listen to? So it's cool to have you guys vibing with us if you are inching closer to the holiday weekend. So you love to see it. Shout out to all the SDS. We see the squad popping in early, and you already know the vibes. Smash that like button if you haven't already. We got some news today. We got some roster moves coming in hot from the San Francisco 49ers. So let's hop into it, shall we? And we also got some interesting injury news that we'll get to. But let's start with the roster moves before we go anywhere else. Javon Kinlaw has officially been activated from injured reserve. Let's go. Mook Dog is back. This is a phenomenal Christmas present. I love it so much. I'm just excited to have Javon Kinlaw back out there on the field, man. He deserves to be out there. Again, he's not out there because of anything under his control. So the fact that he's able to get out here against the Commanders, really looking forward to getting him back into the mix and all that good stuff. So really excited to get Javon Kinlaw back out on the field. Going to be interesting to see. I would imagine he'll be on somewhat of a pitch count. So don't think he'll be out there, for 50% of the snaps or anything like that. But I do imagine he'll get a good amount of run, especially getting back into the groove of things. So very much looking forward to that. That is a great photo, Cam. That's beautiful. So we get Javon Kinlaw back, and there's also some corresponding moves because, as we know, he's activated from the injured reserve. So the 49ers have to make some moves, and those moves are releasing linebacker Curtis Robinson. I don't know if you guys remember, but Curtis Robinson actually initially made the active roster out of training camp. Was one of the biggest surprises, I would say, for me personally, that Curtis Robinson made the active roster. And after he made the active roster, he was placed on injured reserve. It was just it was an interesting, I don't want to say weird. It was just interesting roster move, I think, at that time. But unfortunately, Curtis Samuel's time with the San Francisco 49ers comes to an end. but I would imagine he could potentially be a guy that I don't recall if he was released off the active roster or released off the practice squad. My gut wants to say that he was released off the practice squad, but we'll have to see. But the fact that Javon Kinlaw was activated from injured reserve, there's only one more activation left. So out of all of those, you only get so many uh, abilities to put guys on injured reserve and activate them per the new rules. They have one left. Um, one left. And so that's why we haven't seen guys go on injured reserve like Jimmy Garoppolo. We haven't seen guys go on injured reserve like Kevin Givens. We didn't see Eric Armstead go on injured reserve, even though he was hurt for more than 4 weeks. It's because they have this tricky IR situation going on. So it is imagined that that last IR spot will be for running back Elijah Mitchell. So that kind of puts the potential return for Trey Lance on ice, I would imagine. As the 49ers have told us, they don't intend to bring Trey Lance back this season. And I do believe that they're going to use the IR activation for Elijah Mitchell moving forward. But they also did activate defensive lineman Michael Dwumfor and wide receiver Willie Snead. They brought those guys up from the practice squad. And once I get through this, I'm going to definitely indulge in the Raider trash talking. So I'm excited to get through the updates. But I will continue the updates, and then I'm going to hop into the chat with you guys, and we'll roast the token Raider fan all together. But these are the additional roster moves that we got going on right now. We had some interesting news come out today. Actually, I think it came out yesterday. 49ers, Mike McGlinchey, 2 broken ribs. That's news to us. 49ers Mike McGlinchey, obviously the starting right tackle for the team, went on to KMBR yesterday, I believe it was, and he told the radio hosts that he's been playing since week 8 with 2 broken ribs. I've been focused on the knee, right? We understand he told me when he came on to our show that it was essentially 95%, almost being 100% complete quad tendon tear, which would have potentially made him have to retire. But it was only a 95% tear, so they're able to salvage it. If you guys remember, week 6 against the Falcons, Mike had to leave the game due to a knee injury. Well, 2 weeks later, week 8 against the Rams, he breaks 2 ribs in that particular game. And since then, the San Francisco 49ers have been on a 7-game win streak, with Mike McGlinchey not missing a single start. So that's absolutely phenomenal. And, you guys know me. I break down the tape. I watch the offensive line extremely closely. And I've told you, Mike didn't look right. At least since that Falcons game. And, we saw he didn't have a good game. He didn't have a good couple series against the Kansas City Chiefs. And he kind of had his ups and downs from that point on. And we talked about it. I said he didn't look right. He just didn't look right. But the last 2 weeks in a row, Mike McGlinchey against the Seattle Seahawks and the Bucks has looked great. He really has. He's looked, you know, considering the narrative surrounding Mike McGlinchey, and if you stack it up against the narrative from Mike McGlinchey, he looks fantastic. The last 2 weeks in a row, and he had a really good game on a short week against the Seattle Seahawks. Yesterday, before we found this out, I think I even said, like, if he has a good game against the Washington Commanders, that would make it 3 good games in a row. Not just like good where he's not getting beaten, but like where he is beating the other team, flat backing him pancakes, whatever you want to call it, that we would actually praise Mike McGlinchey on the timeline if he came out and had a good game against the Commanders. That was going to be our deal. You don't have to do it yet, but if he goes 3 for 3 good games, we're going to get on the timeline on Twitter and we will actively praise Mike McGlinchey for once. Just, we'll switch it up. We'll go against the grain a little bit. But we found out today, at least I found out today, that he's had 2 broken ribs. And actually, on top of that, he had told KNBR that he tweaked it in the pregame during the Seattle Seahawks. So he tweaked the rib injury against the Seahawks, had to go into the locker room, get it treated, whatever that means. And then he came out and had a pretty damn good game against Seattle. He had a phenomenal game against Seattle. So Mike McGlinchey gutting through a pretty significant injury. And I know if any of you guys have ever had a rib injury, it is no joke, especially as an offensive lineman. You need your core. Pretty wild. So shout out to Mike. And like I said, he's been playing well. It's not like he's just been along for the ride. He's playing well right now. So very nice. I kind of like this. He's got 2 broken McRibs. So once we get those McRibs right, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays even a little bit better after that point. So we got to get the McRibs right. Once we get the McRibs right, then we'll be eating for sure. But so far, pleasantly surprised with Mike McGlinchey, finding out that he's playing with 2 broken McRibs. So good to see Mike coming out balling. I think that covers the updates and roster prediction, or not roster prediction, but roster moves, things like that. I want to get in on this Raider smack talk, though. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous as we're going through, the updates, and I see you guys popping off at this Raider fan. I'm anytime that I can't partake in any Raider slander, it makes me sad. So I want to get in on this. What are we talking about in the chat? What are the main talking points that the Raider fan is so this one we got Purdy gonna get sacked all day long. Watch. Okay, Max Crosby and who else? Who else? Did you forget that we have the best left tackle to ever play the game in Trent Williams? And just like we talked about, Mike McGlinchey's actually been playing pretty well. And this is also a lie. See, what we call this, I have a name for this because I have a lot of Raider friends. Like we live in the Bay, so some of my best friends are Raider fans. And there's a term that you use for when they're trying to it's like Raider splain, like they try to explain things. It's called Raider logic, and Raider logic is extremely flawed, and it is just literally nonsense half the time. It just sounds good in their head, so they say it. And so we call it, I'll be like hashtag Raider logic. That's what we call it. It's this delusional sense of self that these Raider fans have, that they're really good even when they're absolutely dog water, and then they still try to talk about the San Francisco 49ers, and you're just like, all right, all right, Raider logic, hashtag Raider logic. Like we see what's going on here. So I see that we have that going on in the chat. And no, Raider fans do not have more fans than any other team. That's just a bold-faced lie. That's Raider logic. Just because you like in what world do the Raiders have the most fans? Like, if they're Raider fans, like, I know a lot of Raider fans that are 49er fans now that straight up jumped ship when they moved. So what are we talking about? Don't give me an opportunity to talk mess about the Raiders. We got the Raiders next week. Next week, we got the Raiders. So I'm looking forward to this. We're going to be talking a lot next week. I promise you. Hell, I'm even repping Oakland right now. But we never rep the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders, as they are currently known. But I'm here for. Oh yes, I love this. Someone screenshot this, please. Derek Carr better than Purdy. Raiders gonna expose your sorry quarterback. Please screenshot this. Someone in the chat, screenshot it. We'll come back in 2023 to have a good chuckle. Because what's hilarious about this comment is that Brock Purdy right now in the last 3 weeks has played better than Derek Carr. That is the best part of this comment, is you can almost say undrafted free agent. He was the last pick in the NFL draft. He's a rookie. And he got thrown into the fire against the Dolphins, started against the GOAT, and went up to one of the most hostile environments in Seattle and dismantled the Seahawks. Tell me you don't watch your own team's games without telling me you don't watch your own team's games. Thank you for proving my point. Hashtag Raider logic. Derek Carr should be playing leaps and bounds better than Brock Purdy, but it's the opposite. Brock Purdy is playing leaps and bounds over Derek Carr. So again, hashtag Raider logic. You are starting to understand what I mean when I say Raider logic. It is so flawed. They don't know, like then they get flustered and then they just start saying things that make zero sense, but they believe it's like pushing their agenda further. And it's just like, man, how many brain cells do you have? They're just like, oh, they got like 2 Raider logic brain cells that are just like playing ping pong back and forth. Like, what are we talking about? I love talking trash to Raider fans. This is Prediction Friday. We're going to get into the predictions. We're going to do score predictions. We're going to do our bold takes. We're going to do all that kind of stuff. But first we roast the Raider fan that's joined us today. Raider week is next week, but I'm okay starting it a little early. I have no problem starting Raider week a little early. It's going to be a great week. I'm going to roast the Raiders all week. I can't wait. See this flag right here? That flag says Battle of the Bay. The San Francisco 49ers in the very last Battle of the Bay went to Levi's Stadium. They played another undrafted free agent, Nick Mullins, in his first career start. Guess who had more experience than Nick Mullins? Guess who had more experience than Nick Mullins? What was the score of this game? I think the Raiders at that time were they were a playoff team. They were a team that had aspirations. The 49ers were a dumpster fire on their third quarterback getting his first start on Thursday Night Football in prime time. Guess who had more experience in that game too? This guy. So Raider logic again, it doesn't apply the way you think it does. Like you're digging your grave further every time you apply your Raider logic to these conversations. It doesn't work. There's 34-3. 34-3 hashtag Bay Champions. We sent y'all walking papers out the door to Las Vegas. Bye-bye. We run the Bay. Can literally talk. I can literally go. We could do a whole like that's what we're going to be doing next week. So I hope you come back. Um, I hope Purdy playing weak teams. Okay, so apparently the Dolphins are weak. Apparently, you know, the Bucks haven't been the best. They're still fighting for. They're still, I think, number one in their division, and they have Tom Brady and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Leonard Fournette and Rashad White and Devin White and Levante David and Vita Vea. But okay. And then the Seahawks. Oh, weird. It's like the Seahawks are potential playoff team as well. But okay. Raider logic. Hashtag Raider logic. Appreciate you. But who have the Raiders beat? Who has Derek Carr beat? Derek Carr can't even beat Mac Jones. Or no, I lied. That was the wrong one. Mac Jones and the Raiders gave you guys the win. I forgot about that one. I have it mixed up. That's some Niner logic right there. I'll take that L. The Niners are in trouble. Can't wait. Come back next week, please. Come back next week. All right. Let's get back on tracks. Again, I'm just a sucker for talking trash to the Raiders. It's like in my DNA. So any opportunity I get, we're gonna unload the clip. So let's get back on track though. Let's see. Notorious Gav says, Brad, any news on Charvarius Ward? Is he still questionable? I have not seen any updates about Charvarius Ward. Last we saw that he was wearing a blue non-contact jersey yesterday in practice and still appeared to be still to appear to be in the protocol, but he was still practicing and walking through. This is an interesting story. Former 49ers wide receiver coach, now New York Jets wide receiver coach, Miles Austin, has been suspended for violating the NFL's gambling policy. Uh-oh. Can't get caught gambling. He's probably betting against the Jets too. Uh, but we'll see. What was that? That so Miles Austin. This just came out right now. Apparently, Miles Austin is being suspended for violating the gambling policy. He's currently the Jets wide receiver coach, but he used to be the 49ers wide receiver coach. Not too before he was pre Wes Welker. Oh man, this is the most Raiders thing I've ever heard in my life. We're trying to get off the Raiders. We're trying to get off that. Peter says, Brad, what's your thoughts on Purdy going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning it for us? Listen, I've been trying to not be too hot takey with my thoughts on Brock Purdy. I'm trying to be very objective about my Brock Purdy evaluations, but still in being objective of my Brock Purdy evaluations, I do think the San Francisco 49ers are, as of right now, in a just as good of a spot with Jimmy Garoppolo. You can make the argument they're in a better spot with Brock Purdy at quarterback. So if you believe the San Francisco 49ers were a Super Bowl team with Jimmy Garoppolo, and you want to know if Brock Purdy still keeps those hopes alive, I would say 100% those hopes are alive. Not only are the hopes alive, but if he continues to play at the level that he's playing at, there's no reason to think that the hopes actually aren't even a little incrementally better at this point, because he brings a mobile aspect to the quarterback position that we haven't had. Like, and that includes Trey Lance, because Trey Lance, he has pocket awareness and he has pocket presence, and he does have that. That's one of the traits that I really liked about Trey Lance and what he has showed. But there's also this goes back to the pre-draft process when I reached out to his quarterback coach and asked him direct questions about this, because when Trey Lance is out of the pocket and he's throwing, the ball can die on him. And I asked his coach directly about that, and he's like, because Trey Lance has a really strong arm, right? So for me, I was like, why is this kid who clearly has an extremely strong arm having balls die on him when he's moving out of the pocket? And it basically, the way it was explained to me from directly from his quarterback coach was that his feet, it all starts with his feet. His feet weren't where they needed to be. And so that's why you'd see the ball kind of die on him a little bit. I think Brock Purdy right now um, has shown that when it comes to moving outside the pocket, left or right, he can he can he can deliver the ball wherever he wants. And I would say better than Trey Lance right now and better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So those are the reasons why I believe that if he can keep playing like this, the Super Bowl hopes are 100% alive. Clearly, he's got the intangible aspects that we're all looking for in a quarterback, and he has the ability to do it as well. He might not have the biggest arm. He might not be able to Josh Allen it in regards to arm strength, but he can throw out of many situations on the move, left, right side, step up into the pocket, throw over defensive linemen, throw through passing. Like, yeah, he's good. Like the I don't think it's a hot take to say that he's good. He's proven it. 3 weeks in a row. Clearly the 49ers players are buying in as well. And I think we're seeing a coach buy in as well. I think the coach understands what he has. And you're starting to kind of see the scheme match that a little bit. So I think Brock actually kind of supercharges the position in a sense in regards to what Jimmy brought to the table. Tony says, "Do you buy the high turnover worthy play narrative?" No, I don't even know. I'm still trying. I've heard it. I saw it. I don't get it because, as you guys know, I've watched every snap from Brock Purdy multiple times. He had the one turnover. I can from memory. We can go through all of them. He had the one turnover. Uh, against the Dolphins. It was a 4th and 5. They were on their side of the football or on their side. No, they were on the Dolphin side of the field. He had Brandon Ayuk one-on-one to the right, and he had a free rusher barreling down on him. So in that situation, he threw the ball up. It didn't go exactly where it needed to be. Um, but it was still in the vicinity, and it got picked off by Xavier Howard. Again, we broke down that play. Wasn't that big of a deal at all. Um, so that's the only turnover worthy play that I can think of against the Dolphins. I don't recall any dropped interceptions that particular game. I don't recall too many batted down passes or deflected passes from DBs. I feel like on the Dolphins, he was on point. You go to the Bucks game, he threw an interception, but it technically didn't count because it was a penalty. And we broke down that particular play, and he just didn't see the defensive lineman drop into coverage. Um, Other than that, I don't believe there were really any plays that I looked at that were turnover worthy. Just again, going off memory and everything that we broke down. He had the pick, but other than that, don't recall any real turnover worthy plays. And then you go back to the Seattle game, and he had the dropped interception from Quandre Diggs. But again, you start looking at the throws that he had. I don't remember any other egregious throws from him. So the three that come to my mind, I would say there's three of them. One didn't count, threw one interception. One interception was dropped. And I don't know how the stat is generated. But if it's like a percentage rate, he has a small sample size, so it's gonna look different opposed to guys who've been playing all year. So the tape doesn't fit that narrative from what I've seen. I haven't seen it. The tape doesn't fit that narrative in my opinion. So I don't. Again, I've seen this narrative. The Trey Lance Warriors. Again, you can like all three quarterbacks at the same time. It's a possible thing. Like you don't have to tear down one quarterback to talk about the other one, and vice versa. Like you can just talk about one quarterback. Like you don't have to invoke another quarterback and then somehow compare one quarterback to the ghost of another quarterback. Like you can just talk about the quarterback that's playing right now. But I've seen this narrative invoked to somehow be brought back to Trey Lance, which again is just why this ongoing quarterback conversation in the silo of 49er fans is just it's nauseating. Because you just can't talk about like what's actually in front of you. You have to somehow tie it back to some guy who hasn't played since week 2 or to Jimmy Garoppolo who hasn't played since like it's like How about we just talk about the guy who's right in front of us? We could just do that. That works, you know. Well, that's a conversation for another day. Coach says, "Tell the Raiders bum to eat my shorts. We'll take Derek Corolla in a trade and make him help Dr. York pass out pins during the pregame." Oh wow, dang! Coach from the top rope, Derek Carr helping Dr. York pass out pins before the game. I got one of those pins right here. These are the pins that focus. Oop, oop. It's not going to focus, but yeah, there we go. Those are the pins that Dr. York passes out before each game. And that is what coach is referencing. And that's hilarious. That's pretty funny. That's a good one, coach. Nice burn. Boom. Roasted, as they say. 69 has broken ribs in his back. Is his backup really that bad? It's not that his backup that bad. I just don't think I don't think people actually study uh Mike McGlinchey, so they are not qualified to determine if Mike McGlinchey is playing bad or playing good. They base their evaluation of Mike McGlinchey off maybe a penalty or the one or two potential blown plays he has a game, which is not how you evaluate offensive line. So I think the way that the question is posed is flawed. Has nothing to do with his backup. It has to do with how well Mike McGlinchey is playing right now. And if you don't watch it, then yeah, I'm going to understand. You're going to fall into the narrative and you're going to ride the narrative of what everyone loves to say. Like my stinking chair is falling down. I hate this chair. Um, One of the comments that you would see on my posts of this injury occurring was like, well, this explains why he's playing so bad. And it's like, tell me you don't watch tape or tell me you don't watch football without telling me you don't watch football. Like, he's had two fantastic games in a row. And if that's your comment, then you are immediately disqualified from having a actual logical conversation about football with me. Like you might not like Mike McGlinchey. That's fine with me. I don't care who you like as a player or not, but if you're going to misrepresent how he plays because it fits your narrative, then we're likely not going to be able to have a conversation about that. So if you want to have a conversation, you want to, and it's okay if you don't watch him, that's fine. And you have genuine questions because not everyone is going to study the offensive line like I do, and I don't expect that to be the case. And I don't expect people to prop up Mike McGlinchey considering the narrative around him. It just doesn't happen because you get attacked for it. So I get it. But if you're going to be one of those that just falls into that narrative, then. And I just want to make this clear, Justin. This isn't a shot at you necessarily. Like, it's like clearly I deal with a lot of Mike slander that heads my way. So it's not at you, Justin. I want to make that crystal clear. And I don't think, like, again, that you are flawed in the way you're looking at it or talking about it. It's just the way my mind is triggered by the hundreds, if not thousands, of comments I've seen uh, about the situation. Yes, thank you. I've got the Mike McGlinchey slander PTSD. I've taken a lot of shots just for trying to explain how Mike McGlinchey plays. It's an interesting time to be alive. Nothing to do with how he's playing, just saying he's hurt. Why play him unless his backup is that bad? Um, I do believe I do believe that Mike McGlinchey is that much significantly better than Jalen Moore and Colton McKivitz right now. Um, I believe that, uh, but I know a lot of people don't. Uh, did I see the offensive lineman getting extensions today? Someone got extensions? Or are you asking me if I think Mike will be back. I kind of do. Um, I know they love him inside that building, so I could see him coming back for sure. Tony says, I think I've always been way too hard on Jake Brendel, but how surprised were you when he was named a Pro Bowl alternate? Is he a top six center? I was kind of surprised by it, but I also don't think it's crazy. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I study the rest of the centers across the league. So I can't really compare to anyone else, but I have watched every snap of Jake Brendel this year. And outside of the occasional, just getting overpowered by a bigger defensive tackle, for the most part, Jake Brendel does his job. He's got good enough speed. He gets to backer really well. Um, he does his job, and that's what gets lost sometimes with the offensive line is like if it doesn't have to be a pancake or just this insanely crazy block for it to be a win for an offensive lineman. It could be the smallest things that garner you a win as an offensive lineman. And I would say Jake Brendel wins way more than he loses. So I think and I don't think this was driven by Pro Bowl voting from fans either. I think he got the alternate from opposing coaches. So I think it speaks to Brendel and the way he's played this year. And again, I can't compare it to any other centers this year. But when you watch Brendel on tape, he's played pretty well. Uh, he had a kind of little early dip in the season, but he brought it right back up, and he's been playing well. And he played really good against the Seahawks. So uh, I can't compare and contrast to anyone else about being a top six center, but he's played good enough. He definitely is proven to me that he can start in this league, which was a question that I had. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know about this. I had my questions early, but he's answered them for me. Um, and I mean the fact too that he was able to be an alternate this year that's cool, man. Like it's just cool. Like to be a journeyman backup, be labeled a backup your whole career, and then to get the opportunity to start. And again, you got to give credit to Chris Forster because he was the one that was banging the table for Brendel. So I got to tip my cap to Forster for being adamant about it and sticking with him, and that's cool. I questioned it in the beginning because I thought Brunskill should be playing center, but Brendel has done a really good job. So I got to tip my cap to not only Brendel, but Chris Forster as well for sticking his neck out for his guy. And I can appreciate that. So that's pretty damn cool. Um, but I are you guys it is prediction Friday, and somehow we've gone 45 minutes without doing a single one. Um, because we got distracted with the Raider fan in the chat, and we're just kind of having fun at this point. Um, but let's get into this. All right, let's take a look at the Commanders depth chart, see what we see how we feel about it, and then we'll get into some of our predictions for today. Let's start. Let's get this out of here. Let's get the depth chart up. Hold your score predictions. We're not doing score predictions just yet. Hold your horses. Not doing score predictions just yet. We're gonna kind of do our kind of first glance at the depth chart. See what this team is up against. You can't see that. And then we're gonna work through. We're gonna start with our defensive player of the game. Not yet. Don't do it yet. Hold your horses. I know it's tempting, and we're not doing bold takes yet. I know it's tempting. Not yet. Oh God, we got a Giants fan spamming the chat. All right, go on timeout. Go in the corner. We don't have time for that. We gotta get to our defensive player of the game predictions first. So we're going to start with defensive player of the game. So we're going to look at the offense naturally. We got cornerback Tyler Heineke, who's been a good story, and he's definitely got those leadership intangibles that the team rallies behind. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, two really good running backs, in my opinion, both young running backs, but they have Brian Robinson is a hard-nosed runner. Antonio Gibson has a little bit more wiggle to him, and they use him as a receiving back as well. He's done a good job. My son, Terry McLaurin, and Jahan Dotson have been fantastic. Considering the circumstances, Curtis Samuel's been pretty decent as well. Diami Brown has flashed this year. So they got a pretty decent wide receiver core. Logan Thomas, definitely been a quiet year for him. He's shown flashes in the past. Trey Turner, Andrew Norwell have been decent offensive linemen. Charles Leno Jr., Cornelius Lucas, Wes Schweitzer. I'll be honest, don't know a whole lot about them. So it's gonna be an interesting matchup. I think right here in that defensive line versus offensive line, especially with Javon Kinlaw coming back. Really looking forward to that. So based on how we're seeing the 49ers kind of stack up here against that offense, now is the time, ladies and gentlemen. Get your fingers ready to type. Who is going to be the San Francisco 49ers defensive player of the game against the Commanders? Who's it going to be to step out and show out? Is it going to be your Pro Bowlers? Talanoa Hubanga? Is it going to be Fred Warner? We going to get some Nick Bosa? Who's going to steal the show defensively? Let's see. Who would we say the last week? Are we giving Greenlaw defensive player of the week last week against? We might be defensive player of the week. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give defensive player of the week to. Oh, I don't know. That's a good one. But let's take a look at what the chat is saying for this week's defensive player of the game versus the Commanders. All right, let's see. Bosa. Hey, we need Bosa to get that 20 piece, man. I really think he's got 2 games left. I don't know if they're gonna let him play against the Cardinals. So I think Nick Bosa's got 2 games to get 4.5. Gibson, Freddie, Greenlaw gets a forced fumble and a pick 6. Feel free to drop your defensive bold predictions as well. We'll get those in. Give me your defensive player of the game and defensive bold predictions as well. We got a Kinlaw. Oh boy. Nick Bose. Hubanga. Greenlaw. Talanoa. Eric Armstead Day. Gibson. Defensive player of the game, Nick Bosa with 3. We need a multiple sack game from Bosa so we can get that 20 piece checked off the list. Hufanga, Heine, Bosa, defensive player of the game. My father, Bosa, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Yes, Chase Young is playing. Hubanga, 2 interceptions. Eric Armstead, Greenlaw. Nick Bosa. Greg's calling Nick Bosa with a 2 to 3 sack game. We need the multiple sack game, man. Gibson getting some love. I think this is the most love that Gibson has gotten all year when we do our defensive player of the game predictions. So that's good to see. I'm liking the Kinlaw love as well. We're well represented here today in regards to all the different players that could be potentially defensive player of the game. Fred says Eric. Cameron says Bosa. 2.5 sack. I'm liking this multiple sack game that we got in the chat on Bosa. I like that a lot. Javon Kinlaw, too. I need it. Need it for the way I need air to breathe. Cheyenne says, as always, Bosa. Need that 20 piece. Oh, we're so close. Again, the schedule says 3 games. I really think it's 2. I think they are going to rest everyone against the Cardinals. But until then, they're going to let the boys play it out. Cardinals, they might get a little break. Maybe, actually, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do about the load management. Good point. Greenlaw getting the Pro Bowl snub might come out real angry. Definitely could see another gear to Dre Greenlaw, which would be insane. We got a Warner and an Al-Shaair. That's the first Al-Shaair of the day. We got Warner, Nick Bosa after more Nuggets. Gibson, Bosa 4 sack. I'm here for it. Kinlaw 2 sacks. Armstead. Greenlaw for being snubbed. Dre. Greenlaw's the second coming of Bowman. Ooh, I like that one. William says Javon Kinlaw. I'm kind of vibing off the Greenlaw going nuclear after getting completely snubbed. I like that one. Warner player of the game. Talanoa for blowing coverages. Gotta make it up this game. I got what you're saying. Oh, a Jimmy Ward. T-Dog says Dre. A whole bunch. The faithful. The crowd will be the defensive MVP. I like that one. That's a first. Let's see. Bosa gets 2 sacks. For sure. Kinlaw. Jason says, I have futures bet on Bosa for defensive player of the year. Get after it, Bosa. All right. I think we got through a bunch of them. I do have to agree. Normally, I try to kind of go against the grain a little bit with the chat, but I think the chat is, for the most part, on point. I agree with pretty much every name. Of course, has the potential to be defensive player of the game, but I do think they're going to run the football quite a bit. And if they ever get out of that, I do think Antonio Gibson could be used as well in that regard. So sideline to sideline right now, Dre Greenlaw might be the best linebacker in the NFL. So I'm going to go Dre Greenlaw too. It feels too right to go Dre Greenlaw after the snubbery. But I also do want a Nick Bosa, multiple nugget game. So close. But I do think Taylor Heineke also has some opportunities to throw interceptions, so we could see that as well. But I don't know. Let's do offensive player of the game now. We're looking at Chase Young, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat. This might be the best defensive line that the 49ers have played this year. All Chase Young comes back. Again, we talked about it. It's going to be a big test for Mike McGlinchey. If Mike McGlinchey can go out and have a good game against these two edge rushers, I am making you go on to Twitter and tweet positive things about Mike McGlinchey. There is a realm of possibility that he doesn't have a great game. So we're not going to say like we're saying he's going to go out here and just obliterate these guys or anything like that. But if he does have a good game against this defensive line, I'm forcing you to say nice things about Mike McGlinchey. Great defensive line, really is. Linebacker's not too bad either. John Bostic, underrated. David Mayo, Jamin Davis, not bad either. And they have a pretty underrated defensive back room as well. Kendall Fuller's no slouch. I really like Derek Forrest. I think Derek Forrest has been fantastic this year. Really like him. Cameron Curl, underrated safety as well. And Benjamin St. Just, draft crush. Liked him a lot. So they got a decent squad. They're not bad. Not bad. But who's going to be the 49ers offensive player of the game? Who's going to ball out against that defense? We're going to get another Kittle masterclass. We're going to get CMC running wild. Are we going to get Brandon Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk had kind of a quiet game against Seattle. I think Ray played pretty well. Or is it going to be third and Juwan? Juwan Jennings was clutch against Seattle. So who's going to be our offensive player of the game? Feel free to drop your bold takes or bold predictions of what it's going to look like here as well for the offense. Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be the Brock Purdy show? Slinging darts. Excited to see. All right, let's start. I'm going to start at the top of the chat and I'm going to work my way down for offensive player of the game. First one. Oh, no. First one is actually CMC from Jedi. Tyler says BCB, the legend, will be offensive player of the game. Oh, that's a good point. If we're this might be the this might be the snubbery game. The fact that because it clearly wasn't the fans. He had the number one fan vote out of running backs. So it was players and coaches who apparently voted Miles Sanders and Tony Pollard ahead of CMC. Might be a good day for the snub gang. I like that one. Kittle, Cameron, same thing. CMC for the Pro Bowl snub. David says Kittle on yards after catch. Kittle keeps it going this week again, coming off the 2 touchdown games against Seattle. Brandon Ayuk gonna have a bounce back game. Jedi says Kittle could be a dark horse or juice. Offensive bold prediction from Tony says Christian McCaffrey over 100 yards receiving. Ooh, I like that one. I think it's going to be kind of tough to run on this team. I do. So that's actually, I like the logic used there. We could definitely see Christian using the passing game as effectively an extension of the run game. So I like that one. Ayuk has over 100 yards receiving and 1 touchdown. Would love to see that. Jordan Mason gets his first 100-yard game. I mean, Jordan Mason's trying to get to 100 yards on like 5 carries. So they give him anything more, 5, 10, maybe. Maybe. I like this one. Aaron Banks. Hell yeah. I love the Aaron Banks offensive player of the game. I like that one. That's a good one. I like this one. I'm going to go nuclear if Big Mike has a solid game this week. Gotta love it. Jennings, offensive player of the game. Kittle, offensive player of the game. NYC says, oh, CMC is going to cause so much trouble. He's going to be running and catching everything. 200 total yards, 2 to 3 touchdowns. I like that. That's a big one. Dream big. Lights says, love the way Purdy spreads it. Pause, but gotta go CMC or Kittle. Easy choices. Nice. Ayuk gets 2 touchdowns. I like this one too. Jason says Kendall Fuller, former Rams corner, will get burnt by Ayuk. Like that one. Andrew says CMC 100 yards receiving, 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Perfect setup for the Pro Bowl snub. Perfect for Trent Williams to show them how good he is as well. I got my bold prediction for you. I'm going to get to it here in a second. I want to get through some of you guys. Hey, I like this one. No injuries. McCaffrey, 1 red zone rushing touchdown. Kittle, 2 reception touchdown. Mason gets a rushing TD in the 4th quarter. I don't think we got a Mason touchdown yet. I think we need one. Ayuk is going to toast that DB room. Offensive player of the game. Oh, this one's bold. This one's bold because, again, Jordan Mason popped up on the injury list with a tight hammy. Does that mean TDP? Maybe. Jamin Davis D'd up Kyle Pitts in college. Greg, I like that one. Jesus, BA 100 plus 2 touchdowns. CMC, BCB with the 4th win in a row. Juice is going to be open up massive holes for CMC. Hit this week, so 100% Juice. I like that one. The Kittle Purdy connection continues to grow. Hey, it's Mini Jimmy, baby. Get Kittle the ball from Mini Jimmy. CMC. Ayuk is always open and Purdy looks his way. Offensive player of the game. Is that the O-line? With Kittle in there as a blocker? I like that one. CMC. BA. CMC going to tear it up. CMC Jennings. Juice. Jennings. I'm trying to get through these quicker. Ayuk with the 35-yard touchdown. I like that call out. Jennings with 2 touchdowns, 60-plus yards. I like that call out as well. Ayuk, Kittle, 100-plus yards. Mason Baum, BA, BCB with the first 300-yard passing game. I like that one. Brock Purdy, BA, 2 touchdowns. At least 1 TD for Juwan. Kenny's going Dre Greenlaw and CMC for offensive defensive player of the game. Oh, Gav's stepping it up a bit. He's going 2 touchdowns for Juice. Oh boy, you like to see that. Purdy, 250 plus yards, 3 touchdowns. Man, you guys are getting these in tough. I'm trying to catch up. Tyler Croft, 4 receptions, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. Croft, explosion. Kittle and CMC, Ayuk. Don't forget Ron, coach CMC. That's actually a good point. He will make sure to shut the big plays down. You might try to scheme against CMC, but also you have to recall it's not just the player, it's the scheme. So Ron's coaching against Kyle, I think more so than he's coaching against CMC in that regard. But I get the point. Purdy going to make a running touchdown, 2 back-to-back touchdown games. Purdy with a receiving touchdown. Who's throwing it? CMC. Don't let the snub dictate your behavior. CMC. Uh, Kittle got called out for not enough yak after a couple weeks ago. He's going to tear it up now. Brock continues his 2 TD game. I agree with that. I like that one. I think Brock is good for 2 touchdowns for sure. How big of a test is this for Purdy? I just think it's another test. It's just a no, I think he's proven he's passed enough tests in my book. Now again, we're just, can you stay consistent? Can you consistently be good? Um and just consistently take care of the football. If Brock can do that, then that's all we need to see right now. Ray finally going to get that special team touchdown. Silverback TD. Trent Williams stonewalling Chase Young in his return. Got to CMC. I think I'm finally catching up. Not really. Almost. Almost. Brock with 1 passing, receiving, and rushing touchdown. He's going to pull the CMC hat trick just from the quarterback position. Ooh, I like this one. Danny Gray touchdown on a play action bomb. I like that one. What's good to Don Burr, chat legend? Don't sleep on Trent. He's a boss too. We're not sleeping over here. I can guarantee you that. We don't. This, at least this channel, does not sleep on Trent Williams. In fact, we are woke on Big Trent. And that would be a great time to say my bold prediction of the game is going to be Trent Williams gets a touchdown. I'm going to do whatever I can to will this thing into existence. Trent Williams touchdown for the culture. F you to Dan Snyder. I don't care. Line Trent Williams up as a running back on the goal line. Hand him the ball. Touchdown. Put him in at the fullback so he doesn't have to get too much head of steam. Just touchdown. I don't care. Make it as easy as possible. Quarterback sneak with Trent Williams at the quarterback position. Like, whatever it takes. Oh, I think I just came up with a wrinkle. Could you imagine a quarterback sneak, but the quarterback is Trent Williams? And then Trent Williams is pushing the pile forward? Ooh. Do that. I mean, it's a little tricky. You got to take the snap, which let's not face it. Let's not sugarcoat it. There's a reason why quarterbacks and centers practice snapping so much. But yeah, that can't be legal. But if it is, oh, we need it. I saw this play. On Instagram. I don't remember what it was. It was like a high school game or like a lower level college football game. I don't know what it was, but it was essentially like I don't know, you call it the hook and ladder. Do you guys remember Boise State in that game against Oklahoma, where the wide receiver catches it, and then you have the other player loop around and you kind of toss it up so the defense bites on the player who just caught it, and then you pop it up to the guy who's running by you. I believe it's like the hook and ladder. I think that's what it's called, but it's essentially looks like a screen pass. So it's hike, you throw it out to the wide receiver, and the receiver catches it. Instead of, pulling the lineman to block for the receiver, you're pulling the lineman to do like a hook and ladder. So it's like the receiver catches it and he tosses it to the offensive lineman, who looks like he's pulling to block, but it's not. He's catching it and he's running in for a touchdown. I want to see some kind of wrinkle. Got to get it. We need a Trent Williams touchdown. We got the opportunity against the Jags last year, wasn't successful. I need it this year. I need it. I gotta have it. Trent Williams by any means necessary. So that's my bold take. Trent Williams scores a touchdown. Hey, the homie. Hey, shout out Locksmith uh for the play button, bro. Hey, I'm trying to get like you, big dog. Trying to be like you, big bro. Locksmith got the 100K play button. Whoo! I was dope. I was like trying to be like the big homie. That's it. That's it. That was a cool ass video. I got a ways to go, but that's gonna be a good day, man. Gonna be a good day. I can't wait. We're grinding for it though. We're grinding for it. Shout out my boy Locksmith. Uh, but I want that. I also want that Trent Williams touchdown. I'll give up the play button if you give me a Trent Williams touchdown. I'll forego uh whatever play buttons are given out if you can give me a touchdown. Yes, it is him. It is him. Also, I'm looking forward. I know the playoffs are coming out. I know you were busting out the 49ers freestyle earlier in the year, but the freestyles that are going to be coming up for the playoffs, whoo, this boy spits nothing but gas. So I can't wait for the playoff freestyles. They're coming. Guarantee it. Can't wait. Bay Area legend. Oh yeah. Let them know. Let them know they're coming, baby. So I can't wait for that. um, so we're gonna get. We're close, man. We're close. Can't wait. It's gonna be fire. Uh, but it is that time. It is that time that Sam says, "I'll battle him right here in this chat." Bro, I appreciate the confidence, but I mean, Locksmith isn't like he's not like he's a rapper, of course, but that man is a lyricist. Like he's a poet. He's they call him the locksmith because he's a wordsmith, man. Like this dude, I just like the things that he strings together with words. I can't even wrap my head around it. I'm like, yes, you already lost before you started, but it's okay. We'll still support you and cheer you on from the sidelines. But unfortunately, the L has been collected before you even got off to the start. So, uh, but A for effort. Let's do it. It's time. Score predictions. We've made it. It's been a fun episode. We've made it far, but it's time. What are our score predictions for this game? Jesus starting us off right. He's been ever since Jesus started the just win, I think we have not lost. I don't know. Yeah, I might have to fact check that. But it is time. Drop your score predictions in the chat. What is this score going to be? Is it going to be a close game? Is it going to be a blowout on Christmas Eve? Is it going to be are the Washington Commanders going to come in here and shock the 49ers and beat the 49ers? Any reverse juju score predictions out there? What are we going to get? Because remember, the Commanders are coming in here they're playing for their playoff lives. So are the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks were playing for their playoff lives. 49ers took care of them on their home turf. Commanders coming to our home turf. They're playing for their playoff lives. Will they be successful or will they get destroyed by the San Francisco 49ers? Again, they're getting Chase Young back, who is a great player. So will be interesting to see how that goes down. But let me know what you think. Close game, blowout. Interested to see. Boomerat says 27-13 San Francisco 49ers. Andrew says 31-13 49ers, 4 touchdown passes for Brock, and drops the mouths of the naysayers. I think there's more believers in Brock than there are people who are doubting him, to be honest with you. Terrence says 37-13. Jimmy's dropping the 27-9 on him. Bay Marin 33-3. Ooh, that's a blowout. 41-10 from Mike. Another blowout. Patty dropping the 31-21. Ricardo says 30-17. Randy Daytona is dropping the 27-13. Trippy Josh 23-17. We got William saying Niners 24, Commander 7. Ellis says 27-13, 49ers win. Greenlaw with the pick 6. 34-14. Locksmith dropping in his lock of the week with 20-13, 49ers. Justin says Niners 35, Washington 14. Joshua says Niners 35, Commies 6. I also like this one. Don Burr says Niners 58, the Commodores 6. Shout out Don Burr, chat legend. Aston Martin. Your name's Austin, but I just called you Aston for some reason. Aston Martin says 25-17. Christopher says 24-10. Scott 27-6. Charlene, I was like, oh, Washington with the win? Nope. 13-27. Oh man, I want to say your name, but I know I'm going to destroy it, but I gotta try it. I'm gonna destroy it and make myself look like a fool, but Ugozi? I tried it. 24-10. Or 24-13. I like it. It's a good score prediction. NYC says Niners 42, Commanders 17, and David saying 31-13. Cheyenne dropping 31-10. It looks like it's going to be a blowout, according to the fans, for the most part. But right on time. Bronc Freak says, I think it's a low scoring game. 19-10 Niners. Yes, we love the Don Burr predictions for good luck. Eric 27-10. Peter 28-10. It's a good point. The Commanders are at full strength. We might be looking at arguably one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, and that includes the San Francisco 49ers. Like, this is a battle of the D lines right now. The 49ers get Javon Kinlaw back. The Commanders get Chase Young back. These are two quality defensive lines right now. This game might determine who gets the crown of the best defensive line. I know 49er fans who they're going to say. Vikings going to beat the Niners 36-24 in the divisional round. Come back in the divisional round, and we'll see how that goes. We need screenshots of this. Someone remember this for later. Gilbert says 31-6 Niners. Dream Slayer 34-13 Niners win with a late defensive touchdown. Okay. Jason says 30-6. We send another franchise into the shambles. Oh, I want to send. I want to embarrass the Commanders so it can embarrass Dan Snyder. That guy is a bum. Notorious Gab 27-13. J-Tan 20-21. Who wins though? Who wins? Is that a Commanders win? Is that some reverse juju? Alberto says 27-17. 49ers get the dub. G Money says 26-13. Niners. Mason runs out the clock. Victory formation. Wheel it. Israel says 28-6. San Francisco 49ers. What's this one? Flat Plain, Oregon. Nobody overlooking the commies. They're going to bring their A game. They just don't come out on top. 27-6, 49ers. Dream Slayer says 34-13, Niners win a late defensive touchdown. 28-3, Niners. 40-10, 14-32, 32 Niners. 20-10 Niners, 42-3, assuming Niners. 24-14. Mariah dropping 28-9. Sean, he's making fun of the way I said his name. Well, hey, you guys know, man, I am words are not my friends. If your name's spelled weird, not weird, but like if it's like phonetically spelled, like my brain just can't process it. Just can't process it at all. Commanders 24-42, Dream Slayer 34-13. Raul says 21-13. 27-0. Oh, and we're 11 likes away from 100. Smash that like button. You already know the vibes. 24-13, 27-0. It's a Lyman thing. We suck at spelling. I like that. I'll take it. Words and numbers, not my friend. But that doesn't mean we can't give a score prediction. So the way I'm looking at it, I do think that the Commanders will come in here, and I think they'll put up a fight. I do. I think they're wired to put up a fight. I think the 49ers will be ready for the fight. I feel like I'm going to, within the spirit of these last 7 games that the San Francisco 49ers have won, I feel like on a lot of them, I've said it's going to be a close game. So I think I'm just going to stick with that same energy. I think the 49ers will win this game. I don't think that it will be like a down to the wire type game. But, as we've seen, the San Francisco 49ers controlled the entire game against the Seattle Seahawks. And it got to a point where it was a one-score game at the end with the Seattle Seahawks trying to drive to score to tie it. So I think I'm going to still keep it a one-score game. I'm going to go 24-17. I think the 49ers take care of business. There's always room for weird types of plays where they can either score or get turnovers or things like that. So we're leaving that kind of budgeted into the score. But I do think the 49ers get this dub, especially at home on Christmas Eve with how they've been playing. and against a this is also a potential preview of the playoffs, uh, where the if the 49ers get somehow get the 2 seed and, the Washington Commanders drop to 7 or 8, I think the 49ers will have an opportunity to play these guys maybe in the wild card. So, I think that's an important to think about for this game is that this could be a potential playoff preview if, the Washington Commanders are able to win the last 2 games of the year and they make it into the playoffs. Um, we could see them wild card weekend. So we'll see. We'll see. I think they have a pretty solid roster on both sides. So we'll see how it goes. What's good at MXA? Uh, so we'll see. But would be fantastic to get that dub on Christmas Eve for all of us to enjoy. That way we're not angry or upset spending time with our families or uh opening presents with our kids or anything like that. So that's what the hope is. Um let's see, tomorrow is Christmas Eve. So content, I would say, for the game will be typical of when I don't go to the games. So we'll still post highlights. We'll still do that kind of stuff. I believe I'll be doing a what was my score? I said 24-17 for my score prediction. Um I would imagine I'll do a post game live uh after, but I also know I got plans with the family after, so we'll play it by ear. But I would imagine for the most part, content should be the same tomorrow. Um, on I can't believe Christmas Eve is tomorrow, dude. Time flies. I can't believe we're almost done with this year. Like it, like when we got to like week 13 against the Dolphins, I was like, damn, we're at week 13 already. And we're at week 16 already. Then we're gonna be playing the Raiders on January 1st, and it's gonna be like we're ready for the playoffs. I cannot believe how much time has passed after one of the longest off seasons in history with the Jimmy Garoppolo saga, Trey Lance saga, just to have Brock Purdy come out and be the quarterback. What a time to be alive. But hey, we're here. We made it. The 49ers have clinched a playoff spot. So good to know. Justin says, I'm gonna go to the Cardinals game and I hope they rest everyone but Jordan Mason. That's kind of what that feels like. Feels like a Jordan Mason type game. Week 18 for sure. Uh G Money, appreciate you, man. He says you're the best in the biz. Family, have a good weekend and a great Christmas. I hope the same for all you guys. Best part of the holiday season is getting to spend it with the loved ones and all that good stuff. 49ers, hey, we're in the playoffs, man. We made it. We're going to be there. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, who we play. Cash says, Brad, is there any scenario the Niners play the Packers in the playoffs? I think that's up to the Packers. I think the Packers have some games to win in order to get into the playoffs. I know they're not dead yet, but I think it's up to them to get some wins and some other teams to lose. So it could potentially happen. I don't know the scenarios in which that would need to happen, but I do think there is a realm of possibility where they can get into it for sure. Yeah, I saw this too. Colin Cowherd reporting that Cliff Kingsbury. I think we knew that though, right? Like they're gonna blow up what's going on with the Cardinals. I would have to imagine. Cliff's gonna be gone. Kime is already gone. Like he is on a leave of absence. Like the Cardinals are an absolute dumpster fire. Like, which is crazy because at one point it looked like the Cardinals were building a pretty stout roster. It felt like they were on the right track, but my gosh, Kyler's the perfect example of like what happens when you don't have a good leader at the quarterback position. He's a great player. He's very talented, but he's not a good leader. He based on everything that I see of Kyler Murray, he's very selfish, um, and kind of about his business. And I don't think that bodes well. And I think that's why you see guys like Brock Purdy who have nowhere near the talent as Kyler, but you can see be very successful, because guys rally around him and he's able to essentially bring the level of play up of everyone around him. So the Cardinals are a dumpster fire. They're blowing it up and they're stuck with Kyler Murray. And again, I I hate injuries. I don't wish injuries on anyone. And that sucks that Kyler got hurt, but the Cardinals are stuck with Kyler. They one, paid him when it just didn't feel right. Like that contract didn't feel right. Then the issue with the language in the contract didn't feel right. Then they took it out. Then the Cliff and Kyler's yelling at Cliff, and he's coming off the sideline. Like Cliff or Kyler's questioning his play calling. Like, ooh, not good for the Arizona Cardinals. Both the Cardinals and Rams look toast. The 49ers are trending in the right direction. The Seattle Seahawks, they're in a bit of a rebuild, but they're doing better than expected for everything considered. And guess what? The Seattle Seahawks got some draft picks to play with. Shout out the Denver Broncos being terrible. And not only that, but they're good at drafting. You got to tip your cap to the Seattle Seahawks. They are good at drafting. Um, I envy them sometimes sometimes the obvious pick is the correct pick. The 49ers are really big on going against the grain with the early picks. And we've seen them have success and we've seen them fall flat on their face. They are typically at their best when they're drafting late. Uh, I hope, the 49ers have learned their lesson that you don't have to take a running back in the third round. I'm a firm believer if like you're not drafting a first round running back, which is going to be one of those like true game changing running backs, just wait. Just wait. You can find good, capable, quality running backs late. Just do that. Just do that. Spend your early picks on interior offensive and defensive linemen, edge players, linebackers. Hell, I'll take receivers in the third round any day, every day of the week. You can find good wide receivers. You can find starting caliber offensive linemen in the third and fourth rounds. Let's take a break. Let's take a break on the running backs in the third round, or fourth round. Like, I don't want to bring up Joe Williams either, but like, let's just take a break. Let's just, you know, pause on the. I think we have enough case studies for that situation, so it's kind of how I feel. Uh, but The 49ers are in good position, not only this year, but next year as well. And we're not ready for that conversation to happen just yet. But do we get a third round comp pick if Jimmy walks and if D'Amico gets hired too? I think I don't know how the comp pick structure works with players. I imagine it has to do with like the contract in which they sign, and maybe the value of the contract. I really don't know how. Obviously, I know how it works with the initiative that the NFL has for minority coaches or executives getting hired, which the 49ers have just been recouping third round draft picks for multiple coaches and multiple front office. So yeah, they're going to get another one for D'Amico with Jimmy Garoppolo. I would imagine, but again, with him only playing half the year, I don't know exactly how that works. I would think, but they're going to have a lot of comp third round picks. Um, they're not going to be hurting for third round draft picks. They don't have a second, right? Because that went to Christian McCaffrey. So they don't have that one. Is the Joe Williams the worst pick of this regime? I wish it was. I mean, if you really want to talk about it, just go back to that 2017 first round draft pick. Both of them. Those got to be the worst. I love Solly too. I really do. And I really did think Solly had a lot of potential. I was all for the Solomon Thomas pick because I knew the 49ers weren't going quarterback. I just knew that was what was going to happen. I wanted Deshaun at the time because Deshaun was like one of my favorite players coming out of college ever. I thought Deshaun was going to be a superstar, but I also knew Kyle wasn't going to be drafting a quarterback. So I sold myself on Solomon Thomas, but I sold myself on Solomon Thomas playing on the interior. I sold myself on Solomon Thomas being a 3 tech. I did not sell myself on Solomon Thomas being an edge player. And for whatever reason, they really believed Solomon needed to be on the edge, and he wasn't that. It's just not. He wasn't. He's quick twitched as an interior defensive lineman. He's slow as an edge player. So I didn't like how they used him. And then of course, we know what happened with Solly off the field, and that just compounded things and just made things a lot more difficult. I love Solly. I got a lot of respect for Solly and everything he's been through. But unfortunately, that and the Reuben Foster trade up into the first got to be their worst picks right now. But that's the draft. They've got Dre Greenlaw. That's the draft. They got George Kittle. They got DJ Jones in that draft. It was also the Joe Williams draft, but they hit still. They still hit. You get Dre Greenlaw. No, Dre Greenlaw was, excuse me. Dre Greenlaw was 2018 draft, not 2017. Kittle was 2017. DJ Jones was 2017. Not Greenlaw. Greenlaw was the next year. Oh man, I was so hyped for Foster. I thought Foster was him. I thought Foster, like, when the 49ers got through, they got Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster in those first rounds. I was happy. I was happy. Like, legit, like I believed in Solomon Thomas as an interior player. And the fact that they got Reuben Foster late in the first, I was like, oh yeah, we lit. We're great. We're Gucci. This team's going to be dominant. No, unfortunately not. Oh, they took CJ Beathard in the 3rd round. I thought that was a massive reach. Uh, to me, CJ definitely looked like more of your kind of 6th rounder, you know? Like, you're trying to compare CJ Beathard to like Brock Purdy. I would say Brock Purdy was a better college quarterback than CJ Beathard, and no shade at CJ. I loved CJ. Uh, I think CJ had an opportunity if a couple games fell. If you guys remember that Packers game? I think it was Monday Night Football. CJ Beathard outplayed Aaron Rodgers on primetime television. If Rodgers didn't come back and lead a game-winning drive that game, I really think that game had like one of those like rippling effects, the butterfly effect. Like I think if Beathard wins that game, he doesn't get benched for Nick Mullins. I don't I don't know. Beathard won that game against the New York Giants. If you guys remember the first win of that game that Hoyer started that year. Um, I think there would have been a little bit of a butterfly effect if same kind of hype that you feel with like Purdy and like if Beathard was able to get that dub on the road in Lambeau against Aaron Rodgers with Devontae Adams and like all the talent that they had, I think that would have been a bought him more time and bought him more leash. Uh 2018 was Fred Warner, right, in the 3rd round. Uh So the 49ers have had so far more success uh, later on. Um, Sammy says, I want to cry when I hear people hyping Purdy up. He's so basic. That is not the future. Unfortunately, he's not basic, and that's why everyone's hyping him up because he's not basic. There's something to him. He's got that it factor, baby. So we're gonna have a lot of conversations about the quarterback positions, right? Moving on into the future. But right now, Brock Purdy is deserving of the compliments that he's getting. I don't think it's hype. I think it's like I really do think that. Oh, please do. Please. Oh, if you're gonna clip this, let me go further. Then, if you're gonna clip this, let me go further. Um, I think the reason why you're seeing all these football guys provide support is because they know what it takes. There's this special trait that you have to be a quarterback. It's the trait that we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like people outside the locker room, people outside of football hate Jimmy Garoppolo, but it seems to be the football guys love Jimmy Garoppolo because there's an intangible quality that comes along with playing the quarterback in the NFL at a high level that you either have and you don't. My concern is that Trey might not have that intangible quality because if we're going to compare and contrast really quick, which I've been really trying to stay away from, but why not? When you hear we have enough quotes from players within the locker room of how they talked about Jimmy, how they talked about Trey, and how they talk about Purdy. When they talk about Trey, he's a good processor. He's really smart. He puts in the work. Um, he's a grinder. He does all those types of things. You don't hear a ton about Trey being a natural leader. You don't hear a ton about Trey's confidence. You don't hear a ton about Trey's intangible quality. You hear he's smart, he's mature, he's a good processor, he's got a cannon of an arm, he has all those things, but if you start to compare the way the players are talking about each and every quarterback, they talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy in the same light, right? Trey Lance is discussed a little differently. Purdy, I think, has that intangible quality of being able to be confident, being a leader in those types of things. Not that Trey can't be that. I don't know if Trey's that yet. And I think that's why you're seeing the patterns of communication be one way for two guys and differently for another. So, and I agree. Where do you gain that confidence? You gain it from doing it. You gain it from doing it. And Trey Lance just hasn't done it that much. And I agree. It's not all about arm talent. So it's the kind of intangible aspect of those things. And we don't know what's gonna come next year. We don't know. But I do think that the reason why Brock Purdy is going to be a successful quarterback is one, he's proven he can make all the throws. He's mobile. He's willing to push the ball downfield. He has confidence in his throws. He is confident in his decision making, and his teammates have confidence in him. And I think that's the biggest difference right now is that feels like the players were trying to make Trey more confident, where it's like Purdy is making the players more confident. Does that make sense? Like with Trey, we knew there was going to be, you know, I thought that the he had the opportunity to start year one, and that's where the confidence would have been built. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And so I think it became more of like the players trying to put confidence into Trey versus Purdy is putting confidence into the players. Kyle Juszczyk talked about it. Uh, he's like, the way he's been playing, we haven't lost any hope for what we had with Jimmy. Like Jimmy, we had Super Bowl aspirations. We believed he was going to take us far. And with Purdy, we feel the same way. Like his play is the reason for that. The way he goes about his business is the reason for that. So I think that's what I'm noticing. That's from the outside looking in. I hear all these guys talk about the quarterback because they're asked about the quarterback a million different times. And the distinct difference between the way Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy are talked about versus Trey Lance is these two guys get it. They're natural leaders within the structure of what they're asked to do, and because of that, it builds confidence into others. Whereas Trey was learning and he was trying to get his footing and he was still figuring it out. And that's the difference is Trey has all the talent in the world, the big arm, the prototypical size body, but that's not all it takes to play quarterback. The intangibles become more important, I believe, in the NFL. And that's, I think, how we're seeing both these guys talked about is Jimmy and Jimmy and Purdy have that like that intangible. Like I don't again, how do you quantify it? How do you measure it? How do you do this? How do you do that? You really can't because that's why they call it the it factor. And it's like, how do we quantify this? Steve Young called it the force. He has the force. It's just something you have or it's something you don't have. Um, and I, th- if I'm taking a step back, that would be my evaluation of when they're talking about them. Like Purdy's got all the experience. He understands what it takes. Trey's still learning. And so that's why they're talked about differently. Um, doesn't mean Trey can't get there. Doesn't mean Trey can't develop into that. It's definitely a uphill battle for Trey coming off an injury. But We'll see how it goes. I think it's too premature to lean one way over the other, regardless. Like to lean all the way into Brock or lean all the way into Trey. I think both are premature at this point. I would, if I had to give you any advice on how to manage this quarterback dilemma, is just to sit somewhere in the middle, and not because you can't have a definitive opinion, but it's because we won't really know. Like until we're really heading into training camp next year, that's where we're going to be able to understand where the Niners fully sit. And there's a lot of games left in this season. If they win a championship with Brock Purdy, that is significantly going. You talk about belief in a player. If a rookie comes in and is the first rookie to lead a team to a Super Bowl, this is probably Brock's team. And, you know, but ultimately, as a franchise, yes, you don't want to throw 3 first rounders out the window for no reason, because in hindsight, if that's what happens, that's goes down as one of the worst trades in NFL history. But if the goal is to win a Super Bowl and you'll win that, you can't you the ultimate goal is a Super Bowl, right? That's it. The ultimate goal is the Super Bowl. And if the Mr. Irrelevant brings you that over the number 3 overall pick, who you traded so much draft capital for, so be it. Just how it happened. It's not ideal, but it is ideal if you win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those. It's a very it's going to be wild. Win the Super Bowl with the last pick of the draft. Anoint him. I'm sorry, I don't care. It's the greatest movie script ever. This whole season for the San Francisco 49ers, if it ends in a Super Bowl, will be the craziest year that I've ever witnessed in pro sports by any team. Football, basketball, doesn't matter. Like the way this season off season went, the way the last couple of years have went, starting in 2017, like if they go all the way, I mean, this, I'm wearing the A shirt, right? I'm literally they turned Moneyball into a movie, right? Moneyball was a movie. Those legendary like years with the A's that they had with their storylines of the lowest payroll in baseball and like all that stuff. This blows Moneyball out the water. Get the production rolling on the San Francisco 49ers movie, because if they go all the way with Brock Purdy, be crazy. I'm not gonna lie, maybe. I figured now would be the appropriate time to wear the A's sweater. Purdy ball, I like that one. Money ball, but no rings. He says, "Ew, take that A's crap off, even though the Giants can't sign stars or spend money." Listen, the A's might be one of the most poverty franchises in all of pro sports with how they run their organization. To the point where I don't follow baseball anymore. Like I would have called myself an A's fan. I was one of those rare um like A's Niners fans. Um I never had anything against the Giants. I've been to Giants parades and things like that. Um, but I love the story of the A's until they started trading everyone. And then when they started training your Josh Donaldsons and they just started getting rid of everyone, I was like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. I gave up on the A's like probably about 5 years ago. I said I'm done. I can't do this. Too many games. There's just I was like, and if the team isn't going to like build and actually try and just get by on this Moneyball thing, I was like, nah, I'm out of here. But yeah, man, this is a long show. This is the longest show we've done in some time. So shout out to all you guys for vibing. I mean, we've been chilling at about the same numbers for a while. So shout out to you guys for listening. Double cookies today, triple cookies today because it's Christmas Eve tomorrow. So we're again, everyone gets triple cookies. Make sure that you get those. Uh, Also, have you guys ever had Christmas crack before? My wife started making this thing called Christmas crack, and it's hell of a lot of sugar, hell of a lot of butter and chocolate spread over saltine crackers. My big behind does not need things like that around me because it is literally like crack. You cannot stop eating it. It is dangerous. Very dangerous. Oh, he knows. Justin knows. I like crack. We're off the rails, baby. Cookies and crack, baby. Oh my goodness, I love it. If you haven't, definitely go look up a recipe for Christmas crack. You're not it's not the crack that you're thinking. It's not the crack that you're thinking. You might get some weird searches that pop up there, but just search Christmas crack. I promise you, you won't be upset. Brad, are you concerned with Purdy getting hit? Not necessarily. I know he's injured. He has the oblique injury. Um, but honestly, not too bad. I don't think he puts himself in harm's way. Uh, so I'm not too concerned about it. Obviously, you don't want him getting completely blindsided by Chase Young. That would be bad. But yeah, we don't want him to get hurt. Gotta protect him. So do what my guy where did it go? I might have missed it. I think I lost it. Nope, here it is. Be like my guy NYC. Smash that like button. You already know the vibes. We got a game tomorrow. We got Christmas Eve tomorrow. What a wild time to be alive. We got one eye on the playoffs, and we got a game tomorrow. Um, and yes, G Money. This times a million. Shout out all the wives making bomb treats for the guys. 100%. Shout out all the wifeys out there making snacks. It's appreciated because we love a good snack and all that good stuff. Hey, Zeus. Is there a follow up? Oh. Is the 49ers game on Nickelodeon? I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. Shout out Charlene and her peppermint bark. I want some of that. I want peppermint bark right now. But shout out Charlene. And shout out to all the SDS We're gonna get right out of here on exactly 2 hours. My ticker says we got 20 seconds left, so that means it's time. Grab your cookies on your way out. Enjoy the holidays with your family, and let's get this Niners dub. I'll probably be seeing you guys tomorrow. So I imagine we'll still be doing the game day stuff, but we'll be doing it tomorrow as well, even on Christmas Eve, because we stay working. Appreciate you guys as always for tapping in and vibing. We had a long one today, 2 hours. Appreciate you all. We lit. Bye. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see